Hello, I'm Kurma. Welcome to the Gourmet Vegetarian Cooking Video Encyclopedia. This edition, we're going to show you how to prepare all these delicious vegetable dishes. Beans sautéed in a yogurt and poppy seed sauce. Bengali style bitter melon and vegetable stew. And Brussels sprouts sautéed with coconut. So, let's begin. Green beans in yogurt and poppy seed sauce. It's a snap. And that's how your beans should be for this delightfully different dry-fried green bean vegetable dish. First of all, you should cut your beans in half-inch pieces like this at an angle called bias cut. We've got over here 4 cups of beans that have been cut like that, and they've been boiled till they're soft. They're still firm, but they're butter soft inside, and they're still retaining their green colour. Also, we've got some other ingredients here. 2 tablespoons of white poppy seeds. We've got half a teaspoon of minced green chilli, 1 teaspoon of ginger, fresh, minced. We've got 1/4 cup of coriander leaves. We've got 1 teaspoon of salt. We've got 2 tablespoons of ghee, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, and 2/3 cup of yogurt. Now we're going to begin by blending up our white poppy seeds in our blender. White poppy seeds have a naturally nutty aroma. They're similar to black poppy seeds, but they're a little different. They're done. Now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients on the plate here. We've got coriander leaves, ginger, chilies, and salt. And yogurt. This is our marinade for the beans. That's nicely blended. Now take your green beans that have been drained, that are still warm, and pour in your marinade. And you should leave this to marinate for about half an hour. So our beans should be nicely marinated by now. Let's continue on by placing our ghee in our wok, firing it up. We're going to roast some cumin seeds just till they go brown. Then we're going to throw our beans that have been marinated into the cumin seeds, and we're going to dry fry it for about 8 or 10 minutes. The idea is we're cooking our sauce down so that the beans become dry but coated with the yogurt sauce. And they're done. Green beans and poppy seed and yogurt sauce. Shukta, bitter melon and vegetable stew, is a delightfully tasting, slightly bitter vegetable dish from Bengal. These are bitter melons or Karela, and they play a great part in Bengali style cooking because they promote the discharge of digestive juices in the stomach, and they impart a delightfully different, slightly bitter taste to your vegetable dish. Let me show you some of the ingredients we're going to use here for our shukta. We're going to use 2 or 3 bitter melons. I'll show you how to cut those up in a few minutes. Over here we've got 4 cups of cauliflowerettes, 4 cups of cubed potatoes, 4 cups of cubed eggplants, 2 cups of semi-cooked fresh peas, 4 tablespoons of ghee, 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds, whole, 6 curry leaves. If you can't get curry leaves, you can always use bay leaves. We've got 2 cups of water, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 2 teaspoons of fresh minced ginger root, which has been peeled, 2 green chilies which have been diced, half a teaspoon of coriander powder, half a teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of panch phoron or Bengali 5-spice. You can buy this in any Indian specialty shop. We've got 1/2 of a teaspoon of asafoetida, 1.5 cups of yogurt, 2.5 teaspoons of salt, and 3 tablespoons of fresh minced coriander. Now, the first thing we have to do is cut up our Karela. Now, Karela are very bitter, so what I like to do, I like to rub a little salt on them beforehand. So this procedure should be done about 1 hour before you plan to start. Take firm Karela that haven't got any bruises on them and cut off 1/2 inch from both ends, and that can be discarded. Now, cut them into 1/4 inch rounds, like so. In Bengal, sometimes these little rounds of bitter melon are fried up in ghee and served at the beginning of a meal because the bitter taste they impart has a wonderful effect on the digestive system. It actually promotes the discharge of digestive juices in the stomach. So when you're eating a vegetable dish which is cooked with bitter melon in it, it's generally also taken towards the beginning of a meal. Now over here we have the same amount of bitter melon which has been rubbed with 1/2 teaspoon of salt and left to marinate in the salt for about an hour. You notice all the juice here which has come out. That's very, very bitter. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this over to the sink and wash it very thoroughly. Tip it through a colander. You have to rinse off all the salt very thoroughly. Drain your bitter melons. Place them on a fresh plate, and then you should pat them dry because if you try to pan fry them when they're wet, all the ghee and spices spatter up everywhere. It makes a bit of a mess. Now, unless you really, really like extra bitter flavours, bitterness, by the way, is not a very common taste in Western style cooking. So if you're going to use bitter melon, best to rub it in salt first, because without rubbing salt in, it's quite a heavy, heavy taste. So that's how to prepare your bitter melon. So let's take our ghee 2 tablespoonfuls. Place it in our heavy pot. We're going to fry up our fenugreek and curry leaves. Now, it's important to note, when you toast your fenugreek seeds like this, careful not to overcook them because they're not very nice tasting when they're overcooked. Some spices you can get away with it, fenugreek you can't. So just fry them up for a few seconds until they start to go a little golden brown. Start crackling a bit. Let's put in our bitter melon. A delightfully nutty flavour from those fenugreek seeds. So these have been pan frying now for about 5 minutes. Now we have to add our water. Turn up the flame, and let's put in all of our vegetables. The peas, the potatoes, the cauliflower, and the eggplant. So while our vegetables are cooking down for about 10 minutes, we're going to continue on by blending up some of our spices to make a paste masala. Let's add some of these spices here. Specifically, we've got cumin seeds, we've got fresh ginger root, fresh chilies, and we've got turmeric. In Bengal, of course, generally the average household doesn't have a blender like this. All these spices are ground in a stone mortar and pestle. But in our Western style cuisine, these things are very useful. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of water to make a paste. Now we have to scrape our paste out of our blender here into this bowl. So we've scraped out all our masala mix here. So take the 2 remaining tablespoons of ghee, heat them up in another pan, and add our panchphoron, Bengali 5-spice. Those little black seeds in it are called kalonji, or black cumin. You'll know when your panchphoron is cooking because all the mustard seeds will start to pop and crackle. Try not to let too many of them bounce out of the pan. Now let's add our paste masala. Asafoetida, coriander powder, and now another 2 tablespoons of water. Fry all this up. After our spices are all fried up, let's add them to our vegetables. As you can see, just before I add these spices, have a close look there. See how the vegetables are softening up? They're not fully cooked. So it's at this stage that you add the spices. Make sure you scrape out the pan so you don't leave any spices behind. and fold them in to our vegetable dish. Now let's gently fold all these together. This is a very delicious vegetable dish. Now in Bengal, traditionally vegetables are always served with rice. So I can suggest that when you serve this vegetable dish, you serve it with a big bowl of fresh, hot basmati rice. Now you should place the lid back on this after you've folded in those spices and check every few minutes and see when all the vegetables are soft and tender. Then we're going to add our remaining ingredients, which are the yogurt, the salt and the herbs for garnish. So I'm going to check this every few minutes until it's done. In the meantime, I'm going to let it cook a little more. Let's check our vegetables. Yes, the vegetables are done, soft. Let's add our remaining ingredients. Salt, fresh yogurt, and fresh minced coriander. It's gently folded in. And there we have it, shukta, bitter melon and vegetable stew. Brussels sprouts are probably one of the world's most abused vegetables because people generally don't know how to prepare them. Very often I've seen Brussels sprouts that have been cooked to a mush, tasteless. I'm going to show you how to make a delightfully different Brussels sprout dish called sautéed Brussels sprouts with coconut. Let me show you how to prepare the Brussels sprouts. This is very important. So first of all, you have to take off all the outer leaves of the Brussels sprouts. And when that's done, you have to cut off about 1/4 inch of stalk from all the Brussels sprouts. These have all been done except for that one there. Now, the next thing you have to do is to take a little knife and make a little cross. This ensures that the Brussels sprouts will cook right down inside because this is the firmer part of the Brussels sprout. There's our last Brussels sprout crisscrossed. Now we're ready to progress on with the next step in our sautéed Brussels sprouts with coconut. So after you've trimmed everything off and crisscrossed them, take a big pot of boiling water. It should be on a full boil. And plunge your Brussels sprouts into the boiling water. Like so. Place a lid on them. So while our Brussels sprouts are cooking, let me show you some of the other ingredients we're going to use. Apart from the Brussels sprouts, by the way, there were 6 cups of those. We've got 1/4 cup of fresh grated coconut. We've got a tablespoon of whole coriander seeds. We've got 1 teaspoon of whole cumin seeds, 1/4 teaspoon of fennel, 1 teaspoon of black mustard seeds. We've got 1 teaspoon of garam masala, mixed hot and sweet spices, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, And we've got 1 teaspoon of raw split urad dal, 1 wedge of lemon, 1 tablespoon of ghee. So that's all our other ingredients. Now let's go and check on our Brussels sprouts. These are 3/4 cooked. So now you can see how nice and green they are. We want to preserve that green colour. Let me show you how to do that. Let's turn off our flame. First of all, we're going to take them over here to the sink. Pour them through our colander. Drain them thoroughly. Place them back into the pot which we cooked them in. And chuck in a whole lot of ice. The reason I'm putting all this ice in is because this immediately cools them down and it fixes the green colour. So while the ice is melting here, I want to continue on with our spice masala. What we're going to do is we're going to add our coriander seeds into a blender here, along with our cumin seeds, our fennel seeds, and we're going to blend them up. So when your spices have been blended to a powder, add your fresh coconut, like so, and blend them a little more. You might need to scrape down inside there to make sure everything's well mixed. We're going to add a little water to that. So here's our coconut and spice paste. Now, our Brussels sprouts, as you can see here, have melted all our ice. We just have Brussels sprouts in iced water. So we're going to drain those through a colander, like so. And while they're draining, we're going to heat up some ghee in our wok and fry some of our spices. That's a tablespoon of ghee. First of all, let's put in our black mustard seeds. Now, when they're done, we're going to add our urad dal. Now, this is an unusual spice because actually urad dal is a type of dal or lentil, which is generally used for making urad dal soup. But it also doubles as a spice, and it has a very nutty aroma. So let's add that and toast these two spices together until the urad dal turns a golden colour. We're going to add our Brussels sprouts, which have been drained. Our garam masala and our spice paste. Make sure you don't leave any of the spices and coconut inside the blender. Make sure we scrape all those out, like so. Now we're going to saute it all up together until all the liquid is gone. They're nice and crisp and coated with spices and coconut. Al dente. That means they're just got a little bit of a bite left in them. Doesn't mean that when you drop them on the bench top they make a dent. So we're going to add our salt, squeeze of lemon, and it's done. Sautéed Brussels sprouts with coconut. So there we have it. Another beautiful selection of dishes that can be prepared using vegetables. Happy eating.